Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Jonathan Burg. I'm an internist and rehabilitation specialist, and I'm also president of Cornerstone Wellness. Today we're going to talk about an issue that is something anybody who's struggling with their weight can relate to. I call it the carb craving cure. That's kind of hard to say quickly. We're going to talk about carb cravings, why they come about, and what you can do about it. What are carbohydrates? Everybody knows the term carbs. Most people don't know really what they are and what they do. Carbohydrates are used purely for energy, whereas protein is used to create enzymes in your body. It's used to create the structure, your actual frame, your muscle, and so forth. Carbohydrates are used essentially only for energy. The problem is that if you eat too many carbs, excess carbohydrates are converted to fat. They are not necessary for life. The Eskimos are a great example of people that have survived wholly on protein and fat. They eat no carbohydrates, they don't have access to it until they move to sort of more civilized areas on the coasts where they meet Sara Lee and Nabisco and starch companies that make starch-based foods, and that's where they get into trouble. Carbohydrates stimulate insulin. Insulin is a hormone that's released by your pancreas, and its sole purpose is to regulate sugar in your blood and also to store calories as fat. The more insulin you have in your body, the more you're going to store fat. And so people that are overweight and obese tend to have higher levels of insulin. So the goal of weight loss from a medical perspective is actually to lower your insulin levels, and that spares your pancreas, and therefore you're not as likely to develop things like diabetes. High glycemic foods are the enemy. These are your white foods, your rice, potatoes, pasta, and bread. These are what cause a massive release of insulin from the pancreas, and eventually, given the right or the wrong DNA, the wrong genetics, a greater likelihood of developing something like diabetes, which is a horrible disease to get. Low glycemic foods are your colored foods, your fruits and vegetables, essentially. So you want to stay away from the white, move to the color. It's very simple. Let's talk about insulin overshoot. Insulin overshoot is a fascinating phenomenon. What happens is when the pancreas releases insulin in response to a load, particularly a high glycemic load, it goes overboard and it creates too much insulin. And that results in a lowering of the blood sugar too low, which your brain interprets as hunger. So typically what's happening is you have high glycemic foods for, say, breakfast, cereal or a muffin, something like that. And 2 hours later, what are you doing? You're looking for more sugar or starch. Now, starch and sugar are the same thing. Whether you eat a cup of potato, a cup of potatoes, or a cup of sugar, there's absolutely no difference, okay? Or a cup of rice, a cup of sugar, no difference. Or a half a loaf of bread, cup of sugar, no difference, okay? Low blood sugar results in hunger. Every 2 hours, like this woman falling asleep at the office, typically people experience this about 10 o'clock in the morning because they had sugar for breakfast, or starch, or cereal, same thing. So what we did at Cornerstone Wellness is I formulated a supplement which is part of the Cornerstone program. It's not available in stores. It's not available on the internet. It's only available through physicians that are doing the Cornerstone Wellness program, which is a weight loss and wellness program in their offices. And its whole goal is to stabilize your blood sugar, so you're not doing these ups and downs all day long that everybody can relate to, where you eat your sugar, your starch, you're energized, 2 hours later, you're looking for more sugar and starch, okay? It's that up and down, up and down. What we're trying to do is keep your blood sugar stable, your insulin levels stable. So it's got various ingredients that I brought together that have been shown in multiple randomized controlled trials on both humans and laboratory studies on animals that stabilize blood sugar. It's got several ingredients, the first of which is hydroxycitric acid, which comes from a fruit called Garcinia cambogia. It's got chromium polynicotinate, green tea, a very special herb called Gymnema sylvestre, which has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for over 2,000 years for diabetes, as well as some minor ingredients, fenugreek, ginger, Chinese licorice root, and peony root. Let's talk about each of the ingredients so you understand why this all works. And again, these ingredients were specifically chosen because they act together to stabilize the blood sugar and thereby decrease hunger and also decrease body fat and maintain muscle. So hydroxycitric acid comes from this fruit. It's also known as tamarind. It inhibits the conversion of sugar to fat. So when you eat a starch-based food or a sweet-based food, basically it normally would convert to fat. Most people don't understand. They think fat makes you fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. What makes you fat is high glycemic carbohydrates, sugars and starches. What they showed in studies on hydroxycitric acid at Georgetown University, Dr. Pruss and some others showed that it actually lowers body weight by 5.5%. That doesn't seem like a lot. It seems like a small number, but in a guy like me who's 200 pounds, that's over 10 pounds of weight loss right there, just taking the medication without changing my diet. It decreases the absorption of sugar from the gut, so you're not taking in as much sugar into your bloodstream, and it actually increases excretion of fat in the urine. What's really interesting is it increases serotonin levels 44%. Well, you know serotonin is important from the standpoint of depression. That's what all those drugs like Prozac and Zoloft are about, increasing your serotonin level. But this increases your serotonin level 44%. And most overweight people tend to be a little bit depressed or unhappy with their weight. And unfortunately, the way they medicate this depression sometimes is with eating. And so by increasing your serotonin level, it sort of breaks that cycle. Decreases food intake in both humans and laboratory animals, and it decreases total cholesterol, LDL, and triglycerides. The second ingredient is chromium polynicotinate, not chromium picolinate. That's sort of a less expensive, less active form of chromium. This is chromium attached to a B vitamin, which increases its absorption, its activity. And what it does is it regulates blood sugar. It increases the number of insulin receptors, which are those little receptors on the cells that bring that insulin hooks up with and then brings sugar into the cell and out of your blood where it's causing the damage in cases like diabetes. It decreases blood sugar, and you diabetics out there know your doctor's always looking at your hemoglobin A1C. This is a laboratory test that will tell you how well you've managed your sugars, kept your blood sugars down over the last weeks and months. So it actually decreases your hemoglobin A1C by 0.6. It decreases cholesterol by about 10%. It also decreases triglycerides, and it decreases your weight, as well as increasing your muscle, which is a great combination, which means you're decreasing fat, basically. Green tea is the other ingredient. Now, green tea has been used for years, both in terms of as a beverage as well as medicinally. It lowers your body fat. It actually increases the rate at which you burn calories by about 4%. Again, it doesn't seem like a lot, but over the course of a year, that could represent quite a few pounds. It inhibits absorption of fat from the small intestine, and it slows the rise in sugar, like we were talking about earlier about the glycemic index. It actually lowers the glycemic index of the foods that you're eating along with the green tea. Now, of course, you would take this product Metasist before meals, so it'll have that effect. It reduces your appetites. That's the key. If people aren't hungry, they have a much more likely chance of being successful in their weight loss efforts. Of course, people eat for other reasons besides hunger, but as far as the hunger is concerned, this Metasist will help considerably. It's really quite amazing when you take this nutraceutical supplement. It also decreases LDL and cholesterol, which of course are risk factors for heart disease, and it's an antioxidant. Lastly, this special, it's actually been also known as the miracle fruit in the East, in India. It's been used for over 2,000 years in Ayurvedic medicine, and even the NIH now approves of its use along with agents for type 2 diabetes. It reduces blood sugar, it decreases the absorption of sugar as well, and it also stimulates the secretion of insulin, which drives the sugar into the cells. But most importantly, it actually blocks the sweet receptors on your tongue. Things simply don't taste as sweet. Well, if they don't taste as sweet, you're not as likely to eat them, particularly if you have a sweet tooth. So today we summarize Metasist, which is a product available, a supplement available through your physician if he is a participating Cornerstone Wellness provider. It has all of the ingredients, all the nutraceuticals brought together that stabilize your blood sugar, thereby decreasing the ups and downs that tend to cause people to want to seek out starch-based foods, high glycemic carbohydrate foods, which of course raises their blood sugar, taxes the pancreas, eventually can lead to metabolic syndrome, and eventually down the road diabetes, and then of course further down the road heart disease and death. So the goal here, stabilize the blood sugar, don't have those ups and downs through the day where you're sleepy, you're wired, you're sleepy, you're wired again. This will stabilize your blood sugar and make you feel better throughout the day, make you more functional, and obviously improve your health as well. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing all of you again.